Good afternoon, everybody. I'm going to do a video today on the Pope, Pope Francis, and I did an actual 5 minute or so journey into him a few days ago, just to see what came up inside his heart. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about that first, and then I'll go into the journey itself. So what I did is when I went on a journey, I seen myself on a white sheet of paper, and there was a big, huge cathedral there. And I walked up to the cathedral, and the cathedral was like made out of paper. It was like a pop-up, and you would see in a lot of the kids' books, and if they open it up, and a cathedral would pop up. So as soon as I knocked, kind of went to the doorway, and I noticed that it was made out of paper. Everything, all of a sudden, these words start to form in this book, and I was pulled out of the book, and now I'm looking at the book, and I see this really long fingernails and a really, really, really intense dark energy. And bear with me on this because you have to keep listening to the message. So this man shut the book, and he looked very much very like the devil itself. Even though it was still Pope Francis, he had horns, and it was a dark version of himself. And when I turned around, I know there was a really bright light behind me, and I turned around, and there was a man, it was Francis, and he's in behind a wall, and it's really, really bright in that room. It was like a glass wall, and he's banging on the glass wall, pointing at the guy that's sitting on the desk with the book in his hand. And this guy, I felt inside my heart that this version of this, like a demonic version of the Pope, wants to use the church as a tool to just get what the church wants. Doesn't care about the people, doesn't care about anything, doesn't care about God. It just cares about the church being used as a tool. So I turn around and I go into the room with the Pope, and he's really like worried that something might be wrong, and he's looking all over me, and he's seeing there's nothing wrong with me, but he was very terrified for my well-being, for being in that room with that dark version. He looks at it as a devil. He wasn't looking at anything except that's the devil, and he's really afraid of it. And so he puts this glass wall up for protection. So we get in a conversation. One of the things that I bring up is that why does he have a wall there? So I actually take the wall away, and he gets extremely he gets freaks right out about this, and he can't. And one of the things I say to him just before the wall went down is that the man on the desk is a dark version of yourself. Well, he can't even think that. He says, there's no way that thing is part of me. So this is what's going on inside his heart. There's no way that could be me. So he says, I need this protection. So I take that down, and that dark version of himself comes instantly, just like the flash, up, bang, and he doesn't go past the light. He stays right at the edge of the light. So, and he kind of falls backwards and all crazy and freaking out that this thing's going to get him. But I keep telling him that the love and the light in this room, I start to expand it. And when I expand it, he starts to calm down, because he sees as I'm expanding it, this dark version of himself is going farther and farther and farther away from him, because he doesn't want to touch the light, to the point where the whole room is full of light, even the desk where the book was in, and it's like literally he has nowhere else to go, and he fades away to nothing, because the darkness can't stay in the light and the love. So when he sees this, he comes right down. And I actually explain that thing that you don't really need protection from darkness, because if you shine the light within yourself, the love within yourself, darkness can't stand up to that. The dark parts of yourself cannot stand up to that. So you don't need protection, because protection is love. And when you have love in your heart, you're protected. So you don't need to have any other protection. The love of God, whatever you want to call it. So he actually takes the book, and he opens the book, and I ask him, what does the church means? This man, the church was a tool. What does the church mean to you? And actually, this is a very complex question because to him, there's like a million things grinding and gears going. And really seriously thinking about this question. And he actually answers, he's not sure anymore. At one time, he thought he understood what the church was about, but now, what it meant to him, but now he's not sure how to even to look at the church anymore. In the sense that he doesn't love the church. He just doesn't quite understand what the church represents. One time he thought he was very sure what it represented, but now he's unclear. So he asked me what I thought of the church, and I was very honest with him, and I described that to me, if you take the fear out of Christianity, the fear out of the church, and replace that with pure love, to me that would be a huge impact on the world. Because the Christianity is so fear-based, and it creates people to be afraid of themselves, be afraid of the dark parts within themselves, be afraid of all darkness. I said, if you take that out and replace that with love and the understanding that if you shine a light within yourself, that nothing can harm you in the darkness of the spirit world. So he actually thinks about this for quite a while, and he starts to glow brighter, and he gives me a big hug, and he thanks me for my being honest and speaking my own truth. And basically that was pretty well it, because it was just a really short journey, and he just kept growing brighter and brighter and brighter and brighter. And one of the things I did tell him, though, is that in the position that he is in, he has the capability of taking the fear and replacing that with love and teaching the people love throughout the world. Because I'm not saying Christianity has no love, but the fear side of it overshadows, and it creates a friction in people. It creates a fear in people that they lose their own inner power, because God is within all of us, and God is love. And if we think that God is going to punish us for every tiny little thing we do wrong, and I know that's not what all religion says, but it does teach us to be afraid of the dark parts of ourselves. That is Satan, it is the devil, and we have no control over that. I disagree with that statement myself, because I think we need to have the power. We have the power within ourselves, and it even states that we have the power within ourselves. That God is within us all. And if we shine the light of God from our heart out to the world, that will change things. And now it bring power back to the people. And he's afraid of that, because he's not afraid of it, but yet there is a part of him that is afraid of that, because he doesn't know how to do that within the church. And that's one of the things he said. It's like, he didn't disagree with me. He said, but how do I do that? And it ended with him growing brighter and brighter and brighter, and that was the end of the conversation. But he definitely thought about what I said very intensely. And one of the things I liked about this Pope is that he actually asked my opinion, and he cared about my well-being. And that states a lot about an individual. There's so many people out there that don't care about people, and they don't care about the opinions of others. And the Pope, being in his position, actually does. And that states a lot about the man. So I'm going to now do another journey to the Pope to see if he has anything else to share with everybody. Because what I initially did is what the struggle within him. What is in his heart. So in our true hearts, what is the heart of the struggle of the Pope? And that's what I got back. And there's going to be people that don't like it. There's going to be people that are going to yell and scream about it. You know what, guys? Get over yourselves. Because this is what I've seen, and this is my personal truth. So I'm going to go back to the Pope again and see if he has anything else to share to the world. Because this man is capable of doing so much change in the world if he chooses to. And not just him, the church itself. Because we all know, just because you're at the top doesn't mean you have the capability of making changes. So I'm actually in a hallway, but it's like a massive cathedral, but it's walking down the center of the cathedral, but it's so long, it's like a corridor. There is no chairs on either side of me, but it's shaped like a cathedral. It's really beautiful, actually. A really, really, really beautiful hallway that's ornate. It has the arch ceilings like churches do, like the old ones. And he's actually at the end, like part way down this hallway, not at the end, but halfway. So I walk up to him, and he smiles at me, and he says, "Let's go." He just asked me to just walk with him, and he thanks me for coming back to speak with him, and he thought about a lot of what I said, and he is legitimately going to try to change things. But he says, when he speaks, he shows me all these people that are chained to walls, that have no ability to speak, because if they speak, they can't, because they have these, they're gagged, basically. They have stuff over their faces that prevents them from speaking. And there's people in behind those, like they're chained to the walls, and people pull on these chains. When they pull on the chains, this becomes tighter, and their chains become tighter, and they can't move, they can't speak. And there's people in the church that want to speak the truth, and there's people that are holding them back, literally by chains, and that's what it looks like. But they're not necessarily going to be able to stay like that. You can see that they're getting older, and they're sweating, and the people that are chained are not getting any weaker. If anything, they're becoming stronger. And I see a change that he's showing me, that within the church itself, there is people that are younger and stronger that are trying to change things, and the old are trying to prevent it from changing. But he says that is not necessarily going to stay that way. And he is going to try to change people's opinions of the church and start trying to take the fear out of the church. We continue the walk, and it's changes now, and we're walking up a staircase. And we're walking into a huge open area that's like a terrace. And it's beautiful. Like, I mean, absolutely beautiful here. It's like I'm speaking to the higher self of the Pope, is what it's like, because he's glowing really bright. This is a very high plane of existence. It's very high up. And we look down towards the earth, and we see the layers, literally layers upon layers of dimensions. And it goes down, and the earth looks so dark. It's like you have all these lights, and the lights get progressively dimmer the closer to the earth, and the earth looks like it's almost in total darkness, even when the lights are at its brightest. It is actually quite fascinating. So this is the view that you see from this terrace. And he says, yes. But he puts his finger up, and he goes, however, the earth is getting brighter. And I pray that the earth continues to get brighter. There's always going to be people that love me and people that hate me. But I do not have hate in my heart. I do have fear, like all men do. But I am working on that fear. And I will do whatever I can to help change this world, to help change the church. And he's honest about this. This is what's his true essence within his heart, is actually it's quite refreshing, actually. But it even shows that his hands are tied, and that is not going to always be that way, though. It seems like there's a change in the church that may happen. And I say may because I don't know for sure, and he doesn't know either, because people have to choose to change. And he is going to push for change, but if the change is not, these old people still hold on to these chains. And it's not just the old, it's just the representation that they're showing me, that if they have to relax the chains and let people speak and allow the church to grow and expand, because he wants to see the church as a representation of love and hope for the world, to take away that fear. He keeps saying that. He wants to take away the fear out of the church. And that's the struggle that I've seen, is a struggle between the light and the dark side of himself. But he needs to accept that dark side as real, as a part of who we are. And when we do that, we're able to start to break down the fear. And then from there, we can spread the understanding to the rest of the world, so we don't have our own fear within our own hearts. And this is the message that he wants to portray to the world. And that's a beautiful thing. You know what? When I first went to the Pope, I wasn't sure what I was going to see. But I tell you one thing, after going to him, I have a new respect for the man. And he is legitimately trying to change himself, the church, and the world. And that I do have respect for. So that's my message, and I think that's all he wants to portray, is to really hit home that message. And I think that's a pretty damn good message. Thank you very much, everybody. If you wish to do a journey with me, a service with me, you can go to my website at www.amonrosawakening.com. I have a Northern Light page, which is another passion of mine, and you can visit that website at Joseph Bradley Aurora's. Thank you very much, everybody, and have a wonderful day. Take care.